I was standing in the kitchen when my mother said it, her voice careful, rehearsed. "Don't come for Christmas. You'll embarrass us." The knife slipped in my hand. Not enough to cut skin, just enough to remind me I was still here. She didn't look at me when she continued. "Your brother's future relatives are elite, powerful. They don't need to see you." I smiled, slow, controlled, because humiliation hurts less when you've already survived worse. They had decided I was the stain, the secret, the failure, and all of it was because my brother had gotten engaged to the heir of a family that owned judges, banks, politicians, and reputations, polished ones, untouchable ones. I was inconvenient history. They forgot one thing. History has a way of resurfacing. I used to believe blood meant loyalty. That was before I learned how quickly love gets edited when status enters the room. Years ago, when my brother and I were younger, we were inseparable. I protected him, covered for him, took blame so he could shine. When he made mistakes, I cleaned them quietly. When he failed, I stepped back so he could stand forward. I didn't mind. I believed in family. Then came her, the fiancé. Perfect posture, perfect smile, a last name that opened doors without knocking. The moment my parents met her parents, I felt it. The shift. Shoulders straighter, voices softer. Suddenly, everything we were became negotiable, including me. They started rewriting my story, selective memory, strategic silence. I was no longer the successful one who left early, built something alone, and stayed private by choice. I became the awkward one, the unstable one, the embarrassment. I noticed the pattern before the decision was spoken. My calls unanswered, my name avoided, my seat at family dinners subtly reassigned. The betrayal wasn't loud, it was surgical. The final cut came when my mother said, "It's just this once, for appearances." Appearances. That's when I stopped reacting and started planning. I didn't argue, didn't beg, didn't explain myself. I thanked her. That confused her. Confusion is useful. I went home and unlocked the safe I hadn't opened in years. Inside were documents I kept not out of fear, but foresight. Contracts, old correspondence, photographs. Because before I left the family business, before I chose anonymity over applause, I had been the architect behind several miracles my parents loved to brag about. I had built quietly, signed nothing publicly, trusted them to remember. They didn't. The elite family didn't know this either. They thought my brother was the golden one, the visionary, the future. I let them. I updated my legal filings, reassigned ownership, triggered clauses no one had read carefully because they assumed I was irrelevant. I didn't touch my brother directly. That would have been crude. Instead, I adjusted gravity. By the time Christmas arrived, I wasn't invited, but my presence was. The moment happened without me in the room. I know because my phone exploded. The future in-laws were touring my parents' home, admiring photos, collecting narratives. Then they stopped at a framed photograph on the wall. It was old, taken years ago at an international conference. I was standing on stage, younger, sharper, my name engraved beneath it. One of them froze, then shouted it. Not asked, not whispered, shouted. The room went silent. That name carried weight. Contracts, courtrooms, boardrooms, quiet fear. They turned to my parents. "Why is this person related to you?" My brother went pale. My mother stuttered. My father smiled too late. They tried to minimize me. That was their mistake, because elites don't tolerate lies. They tolerate power, and I had it. The confrontation came 3 days later. They called me, invited me, begged actually. I arrived calm, dressed simply, no theatrics. The future in-laws sat stiff, measuring me. I spoke little, let my reputation speak instead. I explained nothing about betrayal. I didn't need to. I simply clarified ownership, influence, history, and consequences. The engagement didn't end that day, but the illusion did. My brother finally understood what it meant to build on borrowed ground. My parents finally realized they had erased the wrong person. I didn't seek revenge. I restored balance. I didn't destroy them. I removed myself and watched the structure wobble without its foundation. Now, when they say my name, they say it carefully, with respect, with regret. I still don't attend Christmas. I don't need a seat at a table that learned my value too late. I keep the photograph, unframed, on my desk, not as proof, as a reminder. They thought I was shameful until the world reminded them who I was.